In the previous chapters, we learned how Shantanu and Ganga met, and from the union was born Bhishma, who took a terrible vow to remain celibate to fulfill his father's desire to marry. Today, we will learn how Satyavati carried forward the Kuru dynasty, and when the dynasty was about to end, someone from her past comes and solves her problems. Shantanu reclaimed his purpose in life by marrying Satyavati, and he spent many blissful years with her. In the meantime, Chitrangad and Vichitravirya, two extremely courageous, well-behaved and intelligent sons, were born to Queen Satyavati. Vichitravirya lost his father King Shantanu before he reached puberty. Then, Chitrangad was unanimously crowned king by Satyavati and Bhishma. Chitrangad's bravery led him to overcome all the kingdoms of the world. As a result, a seed of pride grew inside of him, and he became so enamored of his physical prowess that he began to despise all kings and believe that all people were beneath him. Everyone was troubled by him, and he even assaulted the devas and the demons. Then, destiny decided to play its game. Destiny had decreed his death at the hands of someone bearing the same name. The king of Gandharvas, Chitrangad, challenged the king of Hastinapur to a battle in order to give him a good lesson after learning of his atrocities. The irony is that the conflict between these two occurred on Kurukshetra. Perhaps the region was thirsty for the Kuru clan's blood because every Kuru monarch who fought there lost. King Chitrangad experienced the same thing. Following 3 years of intense conflict, Chitrangad, the king of Gandharvas, killed Chitrangad, the king of Hastinapur, and then went back to Swargalok. The news of Chitrangad's death reached Hastinapur, where Bhishma and Satyavati were devastated by the news. But Satyavati was a Kshatriya by birth, so, controlling her emotions, she decided that Vichitravirya would become the next king, even though he had not yet attained youth. She then gave Bhishma instructions to assist Vichitravirya in ruling, and Vichitravirya would carry out Bhishma's directives to govern the kingdom. Following Vichitravirya's youth, Bhishma considered his marriage. Fortunately, the swayamvar of the king of Kashi's 3 lovely daughters who resembled Apsaras was being held at that time. After learning of this, Bhishma departed for Kashi with Mother Satyavati's approval. When Bhishma arrived at the swayamvara, he discovered that all of India's monarchs, maharajas and feudal lords had gathered to participate. At that moment, the daughters of the king of Kashi were startled by the sight of an elderly and courageous Bhishma and began to flee. Look, look, the jewel of the Bharat dynasty, Bhishma, who seemed to be a very pious man, has lost to the beauty of these 3 girls today, the cruel rulers exclaimed, sneering at Bhishma. The time has now come for him to wed them. However, he has forfeited all public respect. At such an old age, he has chosen to marry these 3 girls? After breaching his commitment, who knows how he will seem in public? The claim that Bhishma is celibate appears to be false. Who knows what all has he done in the garb of this vow? Bhishma felt enraged upon hearing all of this. Kshatriyas and learned men praise swayamvar marriage, but O protectors of the land, he said, challenging all the monarchs after kidnapping the 3 girls and mounting his chariot in his rage. In front of all of you, I am forcibly abducting these girls. Try to stop me by outfighting me if you have the guts to do so. After uttering these words, Bhishma took away the 3 princesses. This insult was intolerable to everyone in the assembly, and they immediately began advancing on Bhishma, brandishing their weapons. And then there was a very exciting and intense battle. All of India's Kshatriyas were on one side, while Bhishma was on the other, and Bhishma was overwhelming them. The combined 10,000 arrows that the kings hurled at Bhishma were all cut down by Bhishma's divine weapons. It was unclear when Bhishma would place an arrow on the bow and when he would discharge it. The Kshatriyas then surrounded Bhishma from all sides, but Bhishma decisively vanquished them and began to advance with the princesses. Then Bhishma was attacked by Shalvraj, who was as powerful as thousands of elephants. When Bhishma was wounded by Shalva's arrows, all of the kings began to commend Shalv. When Bhishma saw this situation, he became very enraged, since it is known that a wounded tiger is even more dangerous. Bhishma deployed Divyastras to represent a wounded tiger. With one weapon, he demolished Shalva's chariot. With another, he killed Shalv's charioteer, and with the third, he killed the chariot's horses. Shalv was then taken captive by Bhishma using Varunastra, but Bhishma was benevolent and granted Shalva life. Shalva went back to his kingdom, but he was still resentful that Bhishma had taken his beloved away from him. Only time will tell who that beloved was. In this manner, Bhishma brought the 3 daughters of the king of Kashi to Hastinapur after vanquishing all of India's Kshatriyas. However, I haven't yet revealed the name of those 3 girls to you. They were Ambalika, Ambika, and Amba. Ambika and Ambalika were wedded to Vichitravirya by Bhishma. When it was Amba's turn, she said to Bhishma, "O knower of Dharma, even before the swayamvar was planned, I had already accepted King Shalv as my husband. But I was too scared to speak when you were kidnapping me. My father agreed as well, which is why, O guardian of Dharma, you ought to act in accordance with Dharma." Bhishma was knowledgeable and religiously devoted, as evidenced by the fact that even though he knew me, he felt the need to seek the counsel of experts. On the advice of scholars, he let Amba visit King Shalv. What would have happened to Amba, who was hurt by Kamadeva's arrows, is probably on your mind right now. However, I won't tell you the answer just yet because the moment is not perfect. This history will eventually combine with Hastinapur's present, and it will be a major factor in Hastinapur's downfall. As previously stated, Bhishma married the last 2 daughters to Vichitravirya, and the monarch began spending time with each of his wives. Vichitravirya was afflicted by youth at its peak and the fire of lusty impulses, which is why he used to spend all of his time with his queens and not with his subjects. This was against the king's duties. However, Vichitravirya was unable to violate me for a long time. After 7 years of swimming in the lake of passionate desires, he contracted tuberculosis, which ultimately led to his death. Queen Satyavati and Bhishma were both affected by Vichitravirya's passing. Being a devout man, Bhishma never considered the possibility that he would be pleased that Satyavati had no son left alive, and that he would ascend to the throne of Hastinapura out of royal obligation. Here, Satyavati and her father are suffering as a result of their high aspirations because they wrongfully took Bhishma's kingdom away from him. Like ghosts, a man's actions follow him till the end of his life, no matter how hard he tries to escape them. Being the queen mother, Satyavati had some duty to Hastinapur, but her ghost of injustice kept her up at night and made her weak. Thus, in order to safeguard the clan, the queen mother addressed Bhishma saying, "O son, the Bharat dynasty is coming to an end. You made a lifelong pledge to your late father to defend Hastinapur and its ruler. Now, who will you defend if the dynasty itself doesn't survive? You are now responsible for defending the dynasty. Niyoga. We now just have one option to keep the clan safe." "Niyoga, mother?" in shock Bhishma said. "Yes, son. The only path is Niyoga. Since Vichitravirya passed away before having his son, it is now your duty to accomplish the work he left undone. You become the ruler of Hastinapur and have an offspring with Ambika and Ambalika. This will be a royal obligation. Bhishma responded to this by saying, Mother, you know I have vowed since the day of your marriage that I shall neither inherit the throne nor bear a son. But there is also no question that what you stated is correct in accordance with Dharma. If you have any questions about my commitment, I pledge again. I can give up the kingdoms of Brahmalok and Swargalok for a time, but I will not abandon my Dharma. The moon may alter its course and the sun may rise from the west, but I can never stray from the path of Dharma, even if Dharmaraja give up on it. After saying this, Bhishma made yet another ferocious vow. We should now pause and consider whether Bhishma practiced adharma or dharma. Bhishma certainly maintained his pledge, but he broke Raj Dharma, which was more essential at that moment. Now, if the dynasty does not survive, which Hastinapur kingdom will Bhishma protect? Even then, the vow would have been violated. Bhishma teaches us that in order to uphold dharma, you occasionally have to retract your words. And the battle of Kurukshetra itself is a very lovely example of this. Although Sri Krishna had vowed not to pick up any weapons, but he did so to preserve the honor of his devotee when he saw that Bhishma was destroying the Pandava army and was leading the Pandavas towards defeat. Let's return to the story now. After Satyavati was turned down by Bhishma, he suggested to the queen mother, Mother, we should give money to a skilled Brahmin who understands the practice of Niyoga and engages in intercourse solely for the birth of a son. Satyavati became immersed in her past upon hearing this. It seems as though her history held the key to solving her current issues. Satyavati responded to this by saying, Bhishma, my son, the time has come for you to learn some of my secrets, which hold the key to solving our issues. Pay attention, O son of Ganga. Thus, the mystery surrounding Satyavati's birth went something like this. At one time, King Vasu went hunting in the woods. He passed the night in that same jungle. Due to nocturnal emission, the king ejaculated at midnight after having a dream about his queen. Being on the bank of a river caused his semen to mix with the water, which a fish then ingested, resulting in the fish becoming pregnant. Afterwards, fishermen caught the fish. A living human girl emerged from the fish's stomach when it was sliced open. The fishermen gave the girl the name Matsyagandha because she had a fishy scent. Dashraj thereafter adopted Matsyagandha. Like her father, Dashraj, Matsyagandha began rowing a boat when she grew older. Matsyagandha had just reached adulthood when the famous ascetic sage Parashar unexpectedly boarded her boat to cross the Yamuna river. After being struck by Lord Kama's arrows, the sage approached Matsyagandha with a sexual yearning. Out of dread for her father's reputation and public shame, she addressed the sage saying, O great one, I am the daughter of the chief of the Nishadas and still a virgin. This act will be disastrous for me because I am not even married and might not get married after this. Sage Parashar answered, O daughter of the chief of the Nishadas, I grant you the blessing that no one will ever question your virginity and that the fishy odor you exude will disappear, preventing any problems in your marriage. Even Matsyagandha was unable to halt the sage after receiving this boon. At that moment, Sage Parashar produced mist and the entire area was enveloped in darkness, and the mist vanished. After the mist vanished, Satyavati's fishy odor gave way to a pleasant one. Maharshi then addressed Satyavati saying, O beautiful one, you dwell on the banks of the Yamuna river for some time before giving birth to your child. In your womb, a great soul is budding. Giving birth to it will make you a virgin again. And from that womb, the creator of this epic, Sri Krishna Dvaipayan Vyasa, was born. This was Satyavati's past, which could help her with her current issues. In the following chapter, we shall witness how Maharshi Vyas rescues the Kuru dynasty from extinction. Till then, farewell. Like, share and subscribe if you like our videos. Please also comment on the video and express your thoughts and questions.